Everything you've ever wanted is already yours. It's just about how you go and get it.
Welcome back to another episode of Believe It, Achieve It. I'm your host, June Angelides. And today I am so delighted to have with me all the way from Ghana, Nicole Crentsil.
Hey!
Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, how is it in fabulous Ghana?
Yeah, it's hot. It's good. It's good. I've been here for a few days now, and yeah, it's just good to be home.
Oh, I can imagine. I think a lot of us are definitely missing home. I miss Lagos. I'm missing some good food, missing family. So I'm really excited that you got to do that. So I'm going to read your bio because I want to do it justice, okay? So Nicole is a Ghanaian British cultural curator, creative consultant, and entrepreneur based in London. In 2018, Forbes listed Nicole as one of 100 women to follow on Twitter and LinkedIn. In the same year, Time Out named Nicole as one of 50 Londoners shaping the city's cultural landscape. Nicole is the CEO of Black Girl Fest, a platform dedicated to Black women, girls, and non-binary people. She's also the founder of Big Sis, a platform dedicated to supporting the personal development of creative working women. Nicole is passionate about connecting women, young people, and underrepresented groups of art, culture, and events. Nicole, thank you so much. Oh my God, you wear so many hats. And do you know what, actually, I first came across you, I think it must have been on Twitter, and I just felt like good vibes straight away. And I'm sure that this is something that people must say to you a lot. I mean, all you have to do is look at you and I just smile straight away. You just bring so much joy to so many people. Have you always been this way?
Yeah. I think I've just always tried to remain like authentic. Like you can see on the internet, there are people who you meet in person and they're completely different, and it's just like, why just be yourself?
Exactly.
So a lot of people are like, you're exactly like who you are on the internet. I'm like, yeah.
And that's so refreshing. You're right. People often feel they have to have this different persona. And actually, that's why it ends up being like so draining when you're online. If you are having to do that differentiation, but just to be able to be yourself. And where do you find that courage, that authenticity inside of you? How do you find that courage to just do it?
Yeah, I think it was just understanding how to be vulnerable in spaces where I felt like my vulnerability was actually a superpower. So talking about mental health, talking about creativity, talking about my creative journey, I found that actually it was empowering other people to kind of make better decisions about their choices as well, in terms of their careers, in terms of their well-being. And I realized that actually what people might think vulnerability is a disservice to yourself was a service to me and a disservice to other people. So I was like, okay, well, this is stuff I talk about all the time with my friends and my family. So let's just keep talking about it. And naturally, I guess when you find that kind of curve, that niche where you can talk about something on the internet and no one is basically saying, you know, you're an idiot for talking about it, you just continue to do that, and you just continue to, I guess, not purposely build a brand, but because it's just authentically what you would do and talk about and conversate in, like, you know, it's something that is not something that I call work. It's just me being me. So I think when I started doing that more often, I was like, okay, this is great. It means I found a space in this vast internet to just talk about things that I'm passionate about and that I want to have, you know, share with my community, and people want to share back with me. So yeah, it kind of went from there.
I love that. And I guess that's really what inspired this episode, you know, because I wanted to explore risk, you know, ambition, and people really stepping into their greatness. And that's something that I sort of feel that you really encompass. Like, you're constantly just living your best life. And I just feel like taking, you know, but taking, you know, calculated risk, would that be fair to say? This year alone, you've done some pretty amazing things. Like, tell me a little bit more about like all the different hats you wear.
Yeah, I was going to say I need to actually update my bio that you just read, because there's lots of stuff that's happened Yeah, lots of stuff has happened this year. I'm just like, oh, missing some bits. Um, yeah, I think that element of risk taking is probably something that I've inherited from my family. My mum specifically, she took the risks to leave Ghana and to uproot her family to another country and to kind of engulf them in a completely new way of life, completely new society, completely different culture. And for a lot of people where you don't know what you're going into, it's a big risk. You don't know how your kids are going to turn out. You don't know if it's safe. You don't know if this is the right decision. But I think seeing that play out in terms of what my mum did and showing, kind of looking at the way my life has turned out and how much, better off I have been by being in the UK and learning in the spaces that I've been able to learn into, I think I see how taking risks works.
Yes.
So for me, I'm always constantly challenging myself. Like I always say, like I get to a period of time, like throughout the year, where I just don't want to talk on panels because I always say I've got nothing new to say. I haven't learned anything new. I'm just repeating what I have already said on 5 different platforms.
That
so it gets to like a point of the year, probably like in the summer where people are requesting me to speak on stuff. I'm like, no, I don't know anything new. I haven't read any new books. I don't know anything to add. I'm not gonna add anything to the conversation.
Yeah.
and I hate repeating myself as well.
Yeah.
And because of that, I like to continuously challenge myself. And to do that, I take lots of risks in my career and I learn new things. And I put myself in uncomfortable spaces or spaces where I don't see other people that look like me, to challenge a system, to see how I can essentially incubate, learn, and also open the door to bring other people in. So like this year, for example, I joined the Tate members board, where I'm kind of working with other advisories to kind of support Tate galleries in advising them on all things regarding their membership. Which is really exciting as well because they have an incredible young people's membership called Take Collective.
Oh, I love that. Need to get my kids on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just an exciting membership of young people who want to get engaged with the arts. And Tate are such an incredible gallery who are doing that work. And I've always been a huge fan of Tate's work. So it's really exciting for me to be able to advise the gallery on how to engage and to further support its members. So that happened like in the summer as well.
And how did that come about? Is that something you put yourself forward for? How did you find that? Because I guess a lot of times people don't know where to find these opportunities to get on boards. And I love that you're a great example to show that, young ladies can do it too. Because I think very often you think of a board member as someone really old.
Yeah.
So that's really refreshing. So yeah.
Yeah. Traditionally, you would see people who are like in like their 50s plus,
exactly,
very kind of mature in suits, who sit on boards. And again, I never really saw people who looked like me who were in these positions.
Exactly.
Potentially like youth trustees, but nothing else. So I was really interested in how to like incubate that space. Interestingly, I was freelancing with the Tate where the position came forward. And at that time, my freelance contract was finishing, and I thought this will be a great opportunity to continue a lot of the work that I was doing with the Tate Collective marketing and partnerships team, but do it at a different level. And I was just really excited to experience that for the first time. So that was a really cool opportunity to be linked to. But again, this is coming from someone who doesn't have an art degree, who hasn't worked in hundreds of galleries or done hundreds of internships, like a lot of people who navigate the arts industry do. But it was something that I felt like, this is something that I really want to do, and if I have the correct positioning, I'm definitely going to put myself forward. So I had an interview, and I spoke more about my passion and what I'd learned about the membership so far, and then I was off the position. I was kind of appointed by the trustees, so it was really great opportunity. Yeah.
That is amazing. And have you had any meetings yet? And what's that been like, if so?
Yeah, I've had a few meetings, which has been really exciting, all over Zoom because obviously of the current.
I know, our virtual world, isn't it?
Virtual worlds, yeah. But I'm hoping to hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to actually meet in person next year for the next few meetings that we're going to have. And I know for a fact by 2022 we're definitely going to have kind of the in-person meetings. But they've been really interesting so far, and it's been good to kind of to see how boards work, how they navigate them. We have an incredible chair as well. And I'm just learning so much, definitely about Tate as a whole, and the role of an advisory board member, And I'm kind of like, now that I've got my kicks, I'm just like, I want to do more. Like, I want to do more. I want to, like, you know, this is amazing. I want to see what other boards look like, you know?
And you know what? There's some people, I just discovered that their job is literally to have different non-exec positions on loads of different boards. I mean, that could be another interesting career route for people who, you know, might be interested in learning about different types of businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, and also you're a scout for Ada?
Yes.
So tell me about that. How did that come about?
That was an interesting one as well. I was working for an organization called Fearless Futures just before I went freelance. And I was actually doing a workshop with one of the founding partners, Matt. And it was such an incredible workshop as well. Yeah, Matt's great.
He's such a good guy.
And it's such a cool guy. And I think it was such a great workshop. And I think it was probably the first time I'd been in the same room as a VC and just been able to learn and just unpack so much when it came to like privilege, and it came to diversity, and came to inclusion. And it was just a really great experience. And then a few months later, when I was kind of going freelance and leaving the business, my then CEO was just really helpful and was like, you know, I really want to support everything you do with Black Girl Festival. I'd love to introduce you to more VCs. And then I got introduced to Tedx. And that was just at the start of their process of actually raising for the fund. And she was like, you know, I've got my, and she was like, me and my co-founder Matt. And I was like, it's not the same Matt who I met like 6 months ago, is it? And she's like, yeah, that Matt. And I was like, oh, I know that Matt. So it was kind of serendipitous, how I met.
The universe brought you together.
Exactly. And then a few months after meeting, they raised their 30 million and they invited me to become a scout. And I was like, this is a great opportunity. As my community was growing, I thought this is a really great way for me to kind of be immersed in this ecosystem and to learn more from two people who I think are really cool and done really great work, and who have also done the work as well internally in terms of kind of like unpacking a lot of their privilege and diversity, and a lot of work they've been doing both in terms of that space. So I feel like they were kind of well equipped and well versed to kind of do what they say they're going to do with Ada Ventures.
Exactly.
And I know that other firms are doing quite a similar thing, but I fully believe and back everything Matt and Tedx say and do. So I think that's why I was like, yeah, of course I'll be a scout. This is
yay.
Great. So that happened as well this year. Yeah, that happened as well at the start of the year. And then what followed then after was the Ada Angel program, which I'm also working with Ada Ventures with, which is really exciting. And that came through an opportunity as being a scout where at the moment I think they have 50 plus scouts, and we all had to apply if we wanted to be a part of it. And again, being an angel investor was something that is quite new to me. Like, I'm probably the first person in my family to be in this ecosystem, let alone to become an angel investor. So I again saw it as an opportunity to take a risk, to kind of immerse myself in a space where I never really saw anyone that looked like me or had the same background as me or came from the same upbringing as me. And I just kind of wanted to immerse myself in this completely new world, completely new space. And I saw the opportunity to kind of learn through Andy Davis's investing school, and to get the support from Ada Ventures, just like the most brilliant kind of mesh of timing ever. So I was doing that this summer and completed the course, and became an angel investor with Ada Ventures.
Yay! So you're in Andy Ayum's angel investing school?
Yeah.
My God, Andy is such a legend. I mean, it was. I feel like he's one of those people who've just been such huge rock for our culture. Representing. He's gone in as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yay! Exactly.
And interesting, I think he went to the same school as my boyfriend as well.
No, seriously.
Yeah, they went to the same high school, I think, and I was just like, this is weird. Okay.
I love it. Oh no, he's really cool. I love what he's doing with the Angel Investing School, and I think that the more people have this knowledge, then that we're going to get more people applying to go down this track. There's the diversity VC program as well, and there's now the Newton group. I think there's definitely scope to get more Black VCs, which is what we want. I mean, when I joined, there really weren't many. Without Check, I wouldn't have heard about my role, but even when I was looking around, I just didn't see other people that looked like me. And for me, that was something that it was weird. I was like, is there space for me in this ecosystem? So I love what you do when, you talk about representation. I think those, role models really do matter.
Definitely.
Yeah. So as you're thinking about 2021, I'm curious, like what are you thinking in terms of big plans? Are you a planner? Are you one of those people who's going to be making New Year's resolutions?
I definitely say I think I don't want to say I was a planner, because that would insinuate that I'm no longer going to. It's only because of the way 2020 has panned out. I was, if you asked me this question like the end of 2019, I would be like, yes, I'm a planner, I only plan. But what the lesson that I've learned in this year is that sometimes over planning is just, a fool's game, because
Literally.
Sometimes the world and life can just do that to you, and your plan will just go in the toilet.
I know.
And you have to be prepared to like just make whatever happens work. So I think I've learned that hard lesson this past year. Like, as much as you want to set things in stone and you want to have goals and you want to kind of make your list of affirmations, which I do at the end of every year, I kind of write down my affirmations, I have my goal setting, but I also don't put too much pressure on myself to actually have those goals actions. I need to just understand that what will happen, what will happen, what will be is what will be. And although I want those things for myself, I have to also kind of just be ready for whatever comes. And that's probably one of the probably, I don't know if that's quite savage, but it's one of the hard lessons that I've learned this year. So I'm taking that energy and I'm taking it into one and being like, whatever happens, but we're still aiming high, we're still remaining positive regardless. But yeah, I would say for 2021, I do have some goals that I want to kind of achieve in terms of the kind of new spaces I found myself in, new industries that I'm kind of navigating. And I definitely keep them at the back of my head, but I don't put too much pressure on myself to, I need to do all this before I'm 30, because I'm 30 next year. I'm 30 next year, and I see the conversations that people have about, you need to have this and I want to have that, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that to myself, because this year has been crazy alone, and if I put more pressure on myself for 2021, I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm just going to be constantly worrying about, I need to do all this before September.
I know. Do you know what? It's so weird, because I feel like I didn't really come into myself maybe until I was 30. I think I was one of those late bloomers. I had really low confidence, prior to having Ivy. And I don't know what it was that finally kind of snapped me out of it. It was a weird one, and I look back and I'm like, June, what was wrong with you? why didn't you see like your potential? I couldn't see it. Just sort of going with the flow, wasn't really dreaming big. And I don't know what it is, and I think this is what I'm really curious to uncover with people, like, what is it that allows us to be able to really dream big? And this is something that I often challenge female founders on. Dream big, like talk about that scale for your business, that ambition to take over the world. Say it. The boys come in and they say it. I want you to say it as well. Say you want to take over the world. It's okay to want world domination, but I could not see myself in those really senior positions at work, and I don't know what it was. But I think it wasn't until I had Ivy that I realized that actually I need to take ownership of my journey. And I need to figure out how to craft it. And I know that you were in corporate world and you moved into, freelancing, which for me is a massive risk. Going down the founder route again is a huge risk. And I'm always so curious about what is it about the mindset, and how do we stay energized and motivated and just wanting to kill it every day. And I was listening to a podcast when you talked about sort of finding your energy at night. I'm a night person as well.
Yes. The brain starts ticking at 11 p.m.
But I don't know why my brain turns on at night. In the morning, all I want to do is watch Dynasty. Don't tell anyone.
I'm exactly the same. Literally 10, 11 p.m. I'm just like, ideas. And suddenly I'm just like, but throughout the day, I'm just like, let me just find a new series to watch. I'm like, what's happening on social media? Oh, okay, let me read this article. And then when it actually comes to like working hours, I'm just like, well, I can work till 3 a.m. Like,
yes.
that's fine.
So that's when your brain does its magic.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
I've learned to accept exactly that as opposed to working against that, because I always remember when people were talking about I think a couple of years ago, when everyone, I think it was a slogan on a cup or a t-shirt that said, we've all got the same 24 hours as Beyonce. Do you remember that flying around social media for a bit?
Yeah.
And I remember really kind of digesting that and thinking, well, first of all, although we have the same 24 hours, we also don't have the same amount of money she has.
I know, and team and PA and all of that. Glam squad.
And like that. We also don't have that. So we can't also reclaim the same 24 hours. That's okay. But I kept thinking more about like time and about the way in which I use time and how I'm smart with the time. So if I, for example, know that if it comes to creating, generating ideas, that I have a specific, set crazy times that I can work, I'm going to make sure I get the best out of myself in that time slot and nothing else. Exactly. And that level of productivity that I know, if I push myself at the best time for me that makes me the most productive, that's what I'm going to do. So some days I do have days where I'm just sitting around watching Moesha, because I know that when I'm clocking in, I'm clocking in. And that's when I'm going to have the most productive output. And I don't put pressure on myself to be like, oh, everyone else is working from 9 to 5, so I should be working from 9 to 5. And I think that's what I learned about going freelance and taking that risk and being like, okay, let's find your working hours and let's make sure that you're producing the best piece of work. So no one could ever figure out when I did that piece of work.
Exactly.
I did it when I want to do it,
I love that, which is, this is my argument around, remote working. Let people work flexibly, let people find their rhythm, and you'll have happy employees. Let people, if they want to spend time with their kids in the day and play, that's fine. If they work better at night and they're going to get that work done within the time frame, like, why should everyone be sort of micromanaged, be forced to sit at a desk? Sitting at the desk is like my idea of a nightmare. Like, I literally...
That's why we're freelance.
Put me at a desk, 9 to 5. Might as well give it up. I can't do it. I can't. I love variety. I love variety, which is why I'm lucky that I can do what I do part time. And you've seen, with the kids, I love to run around with them, on their jobs. Be a stage mom, not quite Kris Jenner. I will not be doing that to my babies. Momager. Part-time.
Yeah, momager. Yeah, make it work,
I love it. Oh my goodness. And I guess in terms of plans, 2020 has been the biggest off plan for all of us. It's really thrown us quite a few curveballs. How have you navigated that, and how have you taken advantage of it? Because I think, looking at your feed, it's been pretty good for you. Glasses campaign. Tell us.
I think in the peak of the lockdown, I kind of understood, firstly, that whatever I was going to do, my mental health and my well-being came first. So I think a lot of people were like, okay, we're online, we're doing stuff, we're being productive, we're, writing a book, we're, creating this whole new project. And I was just like, productivity looks to me like rest. I realized very early on that actually the way that I want my career to go, I'll probably never get this downtime ever again. Like this time at home, this level of stillness, my mental health, but also my physical health got better. I'm usually the kind of person that would burn out really quickly. I would get like the odd cold, like every other few months. Like my immune system was just rubbish.
Always have a cold.
I was not looking after myself in terms of just like physical health and just working out, exercising. I was able to do so much of kind of calibrating my whole schedule by being at home by the lockdown. So though it wasn't obviously great, and obviously loads of people's lives have been completely turned, I quickly realized like, what are the kind of benefits that I can kind of take from this? And that was initially just stillness, just being able to be still and to give myself and my mind the capacity to think clearly and not to be so occupied with like, oh, I've got to be in Oxford for this meeting.
Oh my God, the running around.
Running around. I couldn't believe how much. And actually, one of the things that I wanted to squash at the beginning of 2020 in my affirmation was the language of I'm too busy or I don't have enough time. Because I realized those were the two kind of phrases that I used to say to myself, to my family, to friends, to people on social media. And I really wanted to squash that. I really wanted to like actually remove that from my vocabulary, because I realized I was saying it so much that actually in times where I wasn't busy, I was constantly thinking that I'm too busy for anything. And the lockdown made me really, it slowed me down. And it also made it so that I realized actually I'm not that busy. I actually have time. I have the capacity. I have the space. And so I started thinking more and more about, okay, if I have the well-being, if I have the space for my well-being and place that first, what else do I have space for? What more can I now do?
I love that. So you prioritize. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, okay, let's stop what you were doing before. Let's recalibrate what we're going to do now. And let's also think about how we can continue a lot of these practices when we do go back to normality. Because at that time it was like, oh, we're not sure when we're going to go back into normality. And I was just like, well, let's prepare for whatever happens. So that was probably the biggest thing that I was initially changing in terms of like my habits and my schedule, my rituals and all the things I was doing. And then with like work and like the opportunities, I was just very much open to whatever came my way. Again, it was just the fact that I had this plan, it's not going to plan. Well, we just have to see what God brings to me. I just have to see what comes my way and just have to be receiving of it. And if it's right, I will know. And if it's not right, then I'll kind of pass it on. But I think because of the topsy-turviness of this year, I was just open to being like, well, whatever lands in my lap, I'm going to have to see if it works. And just be grateful that the opportunities are still flowing in times of crisis and, you know, global pandemics and stuff. So that was kind of like how I navigated the year and how I kind of looked at it. But I think the running theme for everything was just about well-being, like understanding that if I didn't want to do something and if my gut was telling me I didn't want to do it, then I shouldn't try and force it out myself. Shouldn't do it. I just shouldn't do it. Like, as
they say in Lagos, if it's not your portion, it's not your portion.
It's not your portion, and it's okay. And I think as we've been just being really honest with like clients and people that I'm speaking with, which been like, this actually doesn't work for me, or I'm not in the best place to write this. And you know, specifically after everything that was happening with Black Lives Matter, and actually my mind was just going like that with everything I was seeing and reading. Emotions were really high. I think I had a day where I was just like, I can't do anything. All my deadlines have to pause. I just literally cannot move forward, and I need everyone to understand that I need a minute. So I sent loads of emails around, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to move this deadline back because I actually don't have the capacity. Whereas in an older version of myself, I would have worked right through that. I would have been like, oh no, like, you know, just have a nap and then just keep working. And I was like, nah, I can't believe I was doing that old method, because I was definitely not putting my well-being first. So it's things like that. It's kind of actionable steps that I've made to kind of change my behavioral kind of the way that I looked at my wellness as a priority and instead of like a secondary thing. That was probably my biggest thing. And actually it impacts so much of my work and so much of the things that I do. I commit and put time into things that actually make me feel good.
Oh, I love that.
Kind of better, you know, it makes me smile and makes me feel like I've done a good thing, as opposed to making me feel drained and feel like I'm never doing that again. You know, when you're
exactly like, oh my God,
I'm never doing that again. But I want to do stuff that actually empowers me and makes me feel like I can do that again. That's a good thing I did there. So yeah.
That is such a good thing, because you know, when I was running Mums in Tech, I was the yes girl. I say yes to every single talk. But as you say, at the end of it, I would feel drained, and I'd be like, well, why did I do that? You know, the kids are grumpy because I'm not there. I'm tired, haven't slept well. But I always put myself at the bottom of the list, and I wanted to please everyone to, you know, at my expense. And I think, you know, as people who are givers, we want everyone to be happy. It's so easy to do that, you know, because we want to, you know, spread joy and do good. But I keep telling people you need to prioritize yourself, because if you're not functioning at your best, you can't even really give your best at the end of the day, because you're going to burn out. And, you know, I've ended up, you know, completely burnt out, and it's not a pretty thing. So I'm conscious this year, finally learned to say no, but it's not something that we're all very good at, saying no, disappointing people. I struggle with that sometimes. I still have to remind myself that it's okay to say no.
Yeah. And I think when you start flexing that a bit more, you start actually training your brain to be like, to make that decision really from the early stage. Like, do I really want to do this? And trusting that guy and just saying it from the get. I think people learn to respect that boundary even more, because then they realize that this isn't someone who's a yes to everything, that they're a yes to certain things within reason. And that's okay, because we're all human beings. We should have boundaries in place. But literally the same as me, I'm a giver. I used to have no boundaries. It would be like, yeah, of course, message me at 1 a.m. I'll send you that email contact. Of course, yes, I'll be there. Like, and that just made me, it just worked against me being like that. And it made me burn out, and it made me feel like a doormat, and it made me feel like so many different things that it just made me not enjoy being the giver type of person I am. But I think so many other Black women are also givers, and we do it just out of the love of helping other people. But like they say, like, you can't give somebody the gas mask if you don't have one for yourself first. It doesn't make any sense.
True.
So I think about that all the time. Like, I'm just like, I need to give myself first before I can give to others, or else whatever I give to them is just not going to be good enough. It's not going to be healthy, and it's not going to work. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Even with family, and I think people forget that, you know, they think it's just to do with work. With family, like, I'll have aunties that come and be like, come shopping with me so you can carry my bags. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I have 3 kids now, I can't. But, you know, seriously, I'd be running all over town to help people out, and actually I'd be shattered.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard, especially as an African child, you know, you say yes to aunties and uncles.
You say yes to everything. Yeah. It's like, actually, I don't have the capacity. And it's just, I've learned such a hard lesson about saying exactly that. And it's not easy when you do it for the first time. You're just like, oh, what are they going to say? And is it going to be okay?
I know, they'll report me to my mother.
Yeah. That I'm suddenly going to be in trouble, or they're not going to kind of ask me for anything anymore. But really, it's just setting those boundaries and ensuring that people respect that and know that I'm not always going to be available every single hour you call. But the things that actually I can do, I'll let you know that I can do them.
Exactly. I love that. I want to explore imposter syndrome. Is that something that you've ever faced, and has it ever like stopped you from taking up an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all kind of felt like an imposter in so many different spaces. I definitely felt that this year, kind of sitting on the board of Tate, and also kind of getting myself in kind of the Scout and Angel program. I felt like for a lot of people who are kind of in the art and kind of tech space, who've been doing it for so long and reading about their books, reading their articles, seeing all the awards and the accolades, and then coming as a person who is kind of just stepping into the space, there is that element of like, oh, like, am I the right person for this? Could there be someone else who's better? What knowledge am I actually bringing? Why me? Even though you're the person that goes for these opportunities, you apply for it, you interview for it, there is this kind of doubt that kind of says, oh, you're actually not the right person for this position. Like, you're not the right person at all. There is someone who's better than you who should be in this position. And I think that definitely crept in a lot of this year. But I think the way that I kind of combated that on both occasions was that I made sure that when it came to the task at hand and the roles that I was kind of positioning myself in, that I became well versed in everything that was happening in those spaces. I knew exactly what conversations were being said on the ground in terms of like community level, grassroots level, and how to kind of push those conversations up into kind of board level. I made sure that I was kind of engrossed in like conversations that were happening within the tech space, and then also connecting with other like angels and VCs in that ecosystem as well, understanding what the snags are, what the problems are, where the barriers of entry are, and also being really appreciative that I contribute something to this space. I'm not just someone who's just coming in willy-nilly, like just kind of around, hoping for someone to just kind of pick me out and give me an opportunity. I'm contributing something to a conversation that is needed. And just by being a Black woman in these spaces where there aren't that many, or we aren't the majority, I'm already contributing a lot more than I think just by being in the space as a Black woman. So I think when I kind of reiterated a lot of that to myself, I saw that actually what I was bringing far outweighed what I thought I wasn't bringing, what I thought I wasn't actually contributing. And that reiterated that, yeah, you are the right person to be in public.
Yes.
You are the right person to take up this seat and to kind of have these conversations and to kind of push these things forward. And yes, there are the people who can do exactly that and even greater. But right now, you are the right person. And tomorrow, there'll be another right person. And 5 years down the line, you would have created a space where the next person that comes after would have been there because you're there. And that's why I think that's why it's really important when we talk about representation. It's like we think more so about the future generations and what we can show them as positive role models of what they can be as well. So if I said to myself, if I don't take it, how would someone else 5 years from now know that they can take this seat as well? So yeah, that's kind of how I kind of combated it. And I think it's one of those things, those kind of psychological things where you have to keep, it's a muscle you have to keep flexing, you have to keep reiterating. It doesn't just go away, you know. But I definitely experienced it this year with all the new things that I was doing. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? Like, someone's going to find me out and be like,
oh, Nicole, I'll tell you a secret. 2 years in, I still get it. I still sit, I literally still sit in meetings and I'm like, I don't know everything. And this is 2 years in. And I remember my interview and I felt like such an imposter. I didn't know why they were considering me. I'm like, me? Because I just felt, I'd had this 3-year gap where I was, a founder. Yes, I'd been at a bank, but that was so long ago. It felt like yonks ago, at that point. And even when I was at the bank, like I didn't enjoy like all the modeling and all that mathsy stuff. Even though I did well at math at A-level, I didn't want to do any more math. I was like, please don't give me Excel. But I had a bit of imposter syndrome that like most VCs that I'd read about, had gone down the consultancy route. And I was like, oh God, that's not me. And I don't want that to be me. I'm not going to suddenly be a whiz at Excel and modeling. So I went in very, very transparent about, my strength is my network. That's what I've built, and that's what that's what I bring in, that connection to founders. Even saying it, I didn't really know if this was enough. So I get it, and it's like, how do we get our minds to accept that we're good enough? Is it writing it down? And that's something I've really been working on this year with my coach, and I think everyone should have a coach, and it's worked wonders. Just really taking the time to appreciate. That's why I love what Tiwalola does with her wins list. I have my wins tracker and I write it down now, and I look at it because otherwise we forget what we've done and what we bring to the table. I think everyone should to take that time to realize that they have that special something inside of them, and actually they're hiring you because you're not like them, and that's important. That they don't want to clone. And I'm like, I can't suddenly say I went to Cambridge. I didn't go to Cambridge. So that's not gonna happen. I
can't become them, so I have to be myself, and they have to just take what I give them. I think that level of kind of self-actualization and saying, this is who I am, I'm not planning to change for anyone, you accept me for this or you just go away. I think it's so important. And I think more and more people, and definitely more and more Black women, should feel empowered to be their complete and true selves, because we see time and time again some of the issues within the kind of workplace is where Black people, but Black women can't be their true selves when they walk into these corporate spaces. And that's why we have to kind of bring diluted versions of ourselves, just because we feel like, and the industry makes it so that we have to be passable to a very white dominated, cis dominated, hetero dominated space. And so I think more and more where we walk into spaces that we are our true authentic selves, the more and more people are just gonna have to take it. And say, well, this is who she is, and this is how she speaks, and this is what she wears, and this is how she engages with us. This is who she is, and she's not going to be anyone else. And I think that definitely links so much more into like the kind of imposter syndrome and how we experience it, in that we feel like we have to be somebody else to be received, as opposed to just being ourselves, because ourselves isn't good enough, or it's not right, or it's not well equipped. And I feel like that is something I'm definitely trying to kind of shift more and more for other Black women founders, and hopefully for other investors, and for anyone that kind of wants to get into the space, who's really interested in sitting on a board or becoming an investor or whatever I do. I definitely want to kind of demystify a lot of that. Yeah.
I love that. This is why the braids are staying. I am keeping the braids. I braided my hair for the first time in lockdown since my working career, which is mad. I've been wanting to do it, but I never felt sure that I could. And now I'm like, whatever, this is me.
Yeah. You're going to get these braids. Yeah. Same thing with me. I shaved my head. I was like, shave it. Like what?
Yes.
Like what? Shave it.
Exactly.
Do whatever you want. Like shave it, and anyone in a corporate space, anyone that meets you will know that you're that girl with a shaved head, as opposed to
exactly. I love it. I absolutely
that girl who's not sure. It's like, well, yeah, if I'm gonna stand out, I'm gonna make sure you buddies see me, So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Standing out is so empowering, more so than trying to imitate or copy and blend in. Yeah, it's not me. It's not me at all. No.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, I guess that brings us nicely on to Black Girl Fest. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, Black Girl Fest is like my baby. It's like it's one of those projects turned business that is just, it's such a powerful ecosystem in itself, in terms of what it's done and continues to do for other Black women and girls and non-binary people in the community. It's one of those things that started out as, whilst I was working full time as a project on the side. And then now it's just like, oh, okay, this is actually something that's really, really impactful. So it has to keep going. Okay, cool. Let's try and keep this going. But it's, I think it definitely aligns so much more with my personal kind of vision, and also my just values as a Black woman. Seeing other Black women thriving, flourishing, winning is just something that I've always been passionate about from the get-go. And even when I started, I remember in 2016, I did a project called Unmarked Women, and it was specifically speaking about like mental health and Black women in the UK, our experiences and how that kind of interlinks with our mental health. And it was an art exhibition, but also panel discussions and workshops, and there was like a kind of work experience element to it. And that was probably like my first time really programming something, not at scale of Black Girl Festival, but understanding how to have meaningful conversations. And bringing in that kind of cultural element, artistic element, events, programming into that space. And I guess Black Girl Festival, I would say, is just like 10 times the scale of what Unmasked Women was once. So that's really exciting. And I think what I'm planning now for Black Girl Fest is to really take things a whole step further, to think more and more about how that we have this space, this ecosystem where Black people, but also specifically Black women and girls are engaged with, how we can kind of create a platform that is really energizing and dedicated and committed to this community. How do we continue to serve this community, to see that world vision of, thriving and flourishing actually become actualized? Like, how do we get there? And I think that's the vision for a lot of people, but it's how we put the gears in motion. What steps do we need to take to actually get there? And that's something that I'm really passionate about in transforming for Black Girl Fest, and ensuring that we aren't just this kind of annual festival where you have a great time and then that's it. It's like, let's have a continuous program, system, opportunities, conversations where we can actually continue to see our community thriving and growing and winning. So that's kind of what it's kind of currently changing into, which I'm really excited about. But it's one of those things that is just like, it happened, but it happened in a way that had a bigger impact than intended. So now it's like, okay, let's create something even bigger than what we've created. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, this is actually far bigger than I thought. So let's
but it shows you the need.
Yeah.
There was a strong need for it.
Yeah, exactly that. It's understanding that there is this incredible product market fit right here, where people want something and you're directly giving it to them. Cool, let's give them more, let's create more, let's expand, let's make this bigger. And like you said, let's kind of think about world domination and how do we make it
taking it global. I mean, do you see it being more of a physical thing, or are you embracing this online world that we find ourselves in? How do you plan to reach countries around the world?
I think it's a bit of both. I think one of the lessons that we've learned from COVID-19 and the kind of global lockdowns and the pandemic is that how we can continue to connect and engage with people around the world, how we can have meaningful conversations digitally and still have and receive that learning. But at the same time, I truly believe that like Black women, we thrive when we are in spaces collectively together. Like it's just a magical experience.
So true.
So it's definitely going to be like a mixture of the two. And even with the way the world changes back or changes into this new space where we are kind of in a world of vaccinations and we're in a world of, I guess, the new normal, I definitely think that the need to bring people together in physical spaces is still forever going to be, human beings cannot not be together.
Yes.
And definitely with the way that Black women engage and thrive in collective spaces, we'll still see that. But I do think there are elements of kind of digital communications and virtual meetings and connections that will still take place as well. So I'm hoping to continue both elements so that we do have a mixture of the both. And that's really exciting because it means that, again, we can think from a global perspective, how do we engage with Black women from around the world and how we can continue to push the mission and expand our goal by thinking more globally as opposed to locally as we would do before. So I guess one of another kind of flip turn from what's happened this past year is that it's forcing everyone to think globally in terms of their reach and their output and their audience, because it's now we have the capacity to do that. How do we kind of pivot what we're creating so we're actually impacting more people's lives? So that's kind of how I've taken it, and it's quite exciting actually, because the idea of like trying to erect like physical annual festivals on a global scale would have been like, 10 years down the line.
You have to take over the Excel center or something.
But now it's like you can have meaningful conversations from a digital perspective at a lower cost and connect with partners from around the world, and it will just it'll be amazing. So I think that's one of the positive things about the internet and being able to connect online.
No, absolutely. I think this year alone, I feel like I've connected with so many people from around the world where maybe ordinarily I wouldn't have really thought about it as much. I feel like it's so easy to be in our little London bubble. But like even with Female Founders Offline, which you may have come across with Charmaine and Yvonne, we've had events with, Black VC in the US and had, reach founders there. Whereas before, maybe we wouldn't have done that. But I feel COVID has sort of brought us all together, united us in a way that hopefully will last.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely. I totally agree. Yeah.
So I want to explore mental health a bit more. I know you talked about, your company that you set up. How do you think we go about breaking that taboo about, talking about therapy and our emotions? Do you think that that's something that can actually ever fully, be demystified and people sort of feel that they can openly talk about it?
Yeah, I definitely think that is something that we can definitely demystify. I mean, when you think about some other taboo conversations that, that are probably our parents' generation were just frowned upon from talking about, and now it's something that we openly talk about, things like sex and gender and, STDs and all these things that were always frowned upon, just by way of people, but also governments and high level position people having these conversations, they become more normalized. So I think the best way to continue to do that is to continue the conversation, to keep talking, for people to have honest conversations about what they're going through, their well-being, the ups and downs. I think that's why a lot of people say people in the public eye, they always try to kind of push them to talk about things that are happening around the world, because they want people to kind of show their reaction. They want them to have a view, and they want to see what that view is, because they believe that if you're in the public eye, you're a human being and you must have an opinion about this. But I definitely feel like for me, I've always found that, like I said before, like being vulnerable and having open conversations about my mental health has been really empowering for me, because one, it meant that I was understanding that other people feel this same way too. You're not alone, and people empathize and understand. And just by way of you talking about it, to receive that kind of confirmation that you're not alone, other people are receiving that same from the other side. You know, they're just like, oh, Nicole goes through this. Oh, that's interesting. So do I. And it just makes it more normalized that it's just someone who you think is doing really well, who's really great, is also dealing with this, and it just makes them look like a normal human being who goes through stuff.
God, that is so important. And this is why this is why I always talk about that vulnerability is so important. And I would hate for anyone to think that because June Angelides MBE means nothing. I still get anxiety. I am tired. I have a pile of washing there. I don't have it all together, you know, and I think it's very important that, as you say, we see people as normal people, that, you know, whatever they've achieved is completely attainable, and they're still going through their own little struggles. May not say it all the time, but yeah, there's so many things that we're all going through, you know, dealing with the kids, and you know, a lot of people have, you know, financial insecurities. That's why I think, you know, I love what Bolasol is doing with, you know, helping people get comfortable with talking about money. That's another thing. You know, our generation don't necessarily know how to manage money, and I think it's something we need to constantly talk about if we want to create a situation where we have more generational wealth. We need to start saying, well, you know, start saving up, and then we can start investing in our people. So that's something 100%. You know, I'm very conscious of, just normalizing and never pretending that it's all, you know, rosy, because it never is. It never is. And I think people need to see more and more that it never is, because that's exactly what it is in their life as well. People who kind of put this cloak of like, I'm perfect. It's like, nobody is perfect.
No problem in my life. It's like,
Exactly. No, I think vulnerability can be a superpower. So, that's definitely something that I talk about a lot. So I could talk to you all day. So I'm going to switch over to the quick fire round. So, What motivates you to get out of bed every day?
Probably the idea that I am making an impact for the next generation to come.
I love that. And what's your pep talk for yourself?
My pep talk is probably, I don't know, it's probably like, you're a bad bitch, or
I love it.
It's probably that. It's just like, you're a bad bitch and you've got this, and probably just constantly just affirming that I've got this and I'm good, and you're hardworking and you're deserving. I always expect
I love that. Myself. I love
I'm
that.
Deserving.
You're deserving.
Love
it. Favorite food?
Plantain, fried, boiled,
love plantain.
Everything.
Plantain and stew, or just plantain on its own?
Anyway, sis.
Anyway.
Plantain. Anyway, fritters, fried, boiled. Ooh, anyway. But I love plantain with stew, bean stew. Love it.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Favorite outfit? Do you have a favorite outfit?
My go-to, I probably like to wear anything orange, because
that's your color.
I've even got orange nails right now.
Love it.
But but like probably I always have like probably wearing like a floaty kind of silky skirt and like a cute top. That's probably like my go-to kind of style. Not so much now, because like obviously I've just been living in like loungewear, so
haven't we all of us without it's nice top and leggings
tracksuit bottoms and a cute top, so that's what I've been.
Favorite book? Are you reading anything at the moment?
I'm reading, I don't know, it's kind of boring, it's not really an entertaining book. But I'm currently reading The Hard Things About Hard Things. This was actually recommended to me.
Got it by, on the shelf here.
Deborah. Oh, snap. I'm currently reading this because it's just a really brilliant book. It was recommended to me by my friend Deborah. And so I was just like, reading that. Probably my favorite book out of all time, and I say this at like every interview, is Asada Shakur's autobiography. For some reason, I've read it like 10 times, man. Every time I feel like powerless, or I feel like I need to be empowered by another woman's story, I always return to that book. There is something about what she went through, about being a revolutionary, being in the Black Panther, like being in the Black Lives, just the kind of the movement itself in the US. I'm so empowered by her story.
I need to read it.
And I've read it every single time. Yeah, I'm absolutely empowered. I remember the first time I read it, I was like, I want to be a revolutionary. And I was
love
it. I don't think I can go to prison. So
no. I wouldn't look cute in prison.
I wouldn't recommend. But I'm just really empowered by her words. And so it's one of those books I always recommend to like every Black woman to read any time of your life. And so yeah, that's one of probably I would say as well.
I'm gonna add that to my list. And what have you watched lately that you love? I know you love your reality. I
do, but I've actually been rewatching Moesha.
No to that. E to that.
E to that. Hey, no, I've jumped back on Moesha, just re-upped it again. But I do love it. I love This Is Us. I love TV series.
Oh, do you watch Sister? I love Tia and Tamara.
Yeah. Yes, love that as well. I'm gonna start rewatching that after I finish Moesha, and so I'm currently watching Moesha. Yeah.
Oh, love it! I love it. So tell me, what message would you give to women who might have this desire to make a big leap and do something maybe that scares them? What would you say to them? How would you ask them to think about it?
I would probably say something that I kind of reiterate to myself quite often is that everything you've ever wanted is already yours. It's just about how you go and get it. And also, you were deserving of everything you've been gifted because God said you were deserving of it first.
Yes.
That's something I live by.
Yes.
Like, constantly. And with anything I navigate that's new to me, that is a space that I don't know anyone, or I feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
I truly believe that I'm already deserving of those things because God's already given me that gift to be in that space. That's kind of me sprinkling my Christian beliefs on top of that. But for anyone that isn't, about
I love that.
It's just understanding that you have been given these gifts that you and only you can action. And so by way of whatever you do, those gifts are still yours and no one else can copy. It can't be imitated in any way. And whatever you go to embark on, whether it's completely the opposite of what you're currently doing now, or continuation or development or growth of what you're currently doing now, those gifts are still remain to you, and they're for you to go and do greatness and to be great. So yeah.
Love it, Nicole. Oh, so many gems. Where can people connect with you? What's the best way to get hold of Nicole?
Yeah, you can get hold of me across all the social media channels. So on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm also kind of love LinkedIn. I absolutely love LinkedIn nowadays. So you can follow me there. It's my jam as well. Nicole Crentsil or N Crystal on the social media platforms. And yeah, catch me at all the digital events or hopefully in-person events as well. Because I love attending events, speaking at events.
Me too. I need a hug. I want a real hug.
Yeah. I want to do like the networking after being on a panel. Like I miss that. I miss that whole buzz. I do really miss it.
Same. And eating the canapes. I want to eat canapes.
Canapes, the after work drinks, some prosecco, and just having a good chat with someone about some random topic. I do miss that networking element. Yeah,
I know. Hopefully soon. I mean, people are getting vaccinated as we speak, so
yeah, soon come. Definitely soon come.
Amazing. Nicole, thank you so much. So many gems. I hope everyone will be embarking on their risk-taking adventures and really chasing their dreams, because as you can see, look at Nicole. Nicole has stepped into her greatness. Nicole, thank you.
Still stepping.
Thank you. Well, I'll catch you guys at the next episode of Believe It, Achieve It. See ya. Bye.